Here's RFK Jr. He sat in front of a Senate panel and took some shots for the things that he's doing because outside of just destroying our economy, this administration is also trying to kill us.
Just last week, in the days after the tragic shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in my home state of Minnesota, you went on Fox News blaming school shootings on antidepressants. You have no evidence of that because you have no evidence of a connection. And you want to talk about...
You're just saying something. You're just making stuff up.
You know, this is what you say, right? Secretary Kennedy, when someone presents you with information that does not fit...
I did not blame that shooting. I have no idea whether... I have no idea, and I never said that. You're making it up. You're twisting. Yeah, you are.
Secretary
you are being
Kennedy,
dishonest right now.
If you want to talk about mental health and gun violence in this country, if you want to talk about mental health and gun violence in this country, we should be talking about that because that's what the parents of Annunciation School.
You don't want to talk. You want to harangue.
RFK Jr. did this in his confirmation hearings. Every time someone brought up the things that he has said and done before that flies in the face of reality and actually health for the nation, he says, "You're making things up." Why? I never said that. I never said that. They quote him. They run a video, and he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. So in this case, she asked him, she pointed out that just last week, he said that SSRIs are something that could potentially have been the part of why that school shooter went in there and murdered those children. And I think you guys heard him very clearly. He said, "I never said that. You're making things up to harangue me." It's weird how video works.
You are dealing with a person who's trans, that was transitioning. Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. You know, many of them on there had black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
I just ran that last week too. I had it ready to go as soon as I heard her ask him these questions. He says we're going to do studies on the contribution of SSRIs and psychiatric drugs contributing to violence when asked directly and specifically about that school shooting. But she was haranguing him and lying. Again, how many examples do we need to hear from liars that they're liars and that they're going to continue to lie? Why start believing someone who has proven to you that they're dishonest? Why believe them? He's a liar. Why listen to him any further? Why? I need that question to be asked of anybody who still goes on and continues to believe him, because it turns into danger. By the way, I want to play the second half of that conversation because this is where they got crossed up. Brian Kilmeade is so stupid. He asked about trans drugs that people take when they're transitioning. Dumbass RFK Jr. didn't know what he was talking about and brought up SSRIs because his brain tells him that SSRIs contributed to that shooting. And Brian Kilmeade then came back because he's still confused because he doesn't know anything. And he continued to think that the SSRIs that RFK Jr. brought up was actually drugs that go into people transitioning.
So I've never seen that medicine, but you're saying that if you get it, some of the side effects could be homicide, suicide?
Well, there are black box warnings on some of these psychiatric drugs that warn about in their clinical trials that they saw suicidal and homicidal ideation.
This guy is making the decisions. So in this hearing, let me get to the other parts of this hearing because people were upset about the way that many Democrats went after RFK in this hearing, but there was also some Republicans that did too, except the way that these Republicans went after him wasn't really going after him because they know that they're on the hook for confirming this guy. Here's Bill Cassidy, who I highlighted last week as being the guy who's running away because he was one of the deciding votes that allowed to confirm this guy.
I applaud you for joining the president in a call for radical transparency. Thank you for that. I said yesterday, I believe it, that President Trump deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed. If he had been President Obama, he would have gotten it. But because of Operation Warp Speed, forcing the federal government to come to a vaccine development within 10 months when others said it couldn't be done, we saved millions of lives globally, trillions of dollars, we reopened economies, an incredible accomplishment. Mr. Secretary, do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That was phenomenal.
So let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID.
Wait,
that was a statement.
I did not say that.
Okay, then let me ask, because you also were
Senator, I just want to make clear, I did not say that.
We'll check the record. That's a question of fact. You also said that you were also, as lead attorney for the Children's Health Defense, you engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. Again, it surprises me that you think so highly of Operation Warp Speed when, as an attorney, you attempted to restrict access. Now, let me ask.
I'm happy to explain why.
I had 3 minutes and 30 seconds left.
He doesn't want him to explain why. But as you see that cornering, I mean, people call this a genius move by the doctor, Bill Cassidy, Republican, who voted to put this guy in. Bill Cassidy pointed out again, as an attorney, you participated in restricting vaccine access. You're a complete anti-vaxxer. Matter of fact, you said that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID did. But he's laying out this great case. Again, Bill Cassidy's laid out multiple great cases against this guy, but he still supports him. In fact, started by saying, I'm so happy that you agreed to go along with Donald Trump for the most transparent HHS in history. I love you for it. Why are you giving him credit for something that he's not doing? It's a constant groveling and subservient approach to trying to make sure Donald Trump is not against you. They're afraid of this rickety old in the White House so much. They're so afraid of him. They can't even they can't go off of normal medical advice. Stuff that Bill Cassidy literally said he's understanding and has seen in his entire medical career. But Donald Trump is going to keep you from following those same guidelines and standards. We're led by cowards. That's why. And the other reasons why is because after he said all that, he's getting praise for it. Bro, you confirmed the guy. You told other people who said, I don't know anything about him. Let's confirm him because I trust him because Trump told me to trust him. Here's another Republican, John Barrasso.
I support vaccines. I'm a doctor. Vaccines work. Secretary Kennedy, in your confirmation hearings, you promised to uphold the highest standards for vaccines. Since then, I've grown deeply concerned. The public has seen measles outbreaks, leadership of the National Institute of Health questioning the use of mRNA vaccines, the recently confirmed director of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention fired. Americans don't know who to rely on. You know, recent polls said 89% of voters, 81% of Trump voters agree vaccine recommendations should come from trained physicians, scientists, public health experts. So, they believe, Senator Marshall, Senator Cassidy, they believe me when it comes to vaccines. If we're going to make America healthy again, we can't allow public health to be undermined.
So what's the answer? John Barrasso just said, he's a doctor as well, too. We can't have public health be undermined. So now that it's being undermined, what's your next move? It's all window dressing. It's all talking. It's all saying, I'm beginning to be a little bit worried about what it is that you decided to do here, Secretary. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm a little bit concerned. I think you're leaning the wrong way. In your confirmation hearings, you said something completely different than what it is that you're doing. I'm concerned, mister. Your concern is not going to save people's lives. Your concern is not going to get vaccine access back for all these children. Where's your concern going to start doing something? When's that going to happen?